with new young filmmakers, like, I kind of just want them to ignore all this social media algorithm stuff like that and really create like yourself in the backyard with a camera, like and maybe a few neighborhood friends, and like, what can you make? It trains your creative brain to do that. If you put yourself in a space with a camera and really trains yourself to create something out of thin air, it's really unpredictable the way the world's going, but power of cinema like should hopefully overthrow all that negative stuff.
Hi everyone, I'm delighted to say that I recently got the chance to record an interview with Austen Taylor Pease. He is the writer-director of a new 16mm short film called Rabbit's Foot that has just been released online. Rabbit's Foot tells the story of three people in the aftermath of a robbery. The film begins as these characters are feeling the adrenaline rush of completing the score. As the narrative progresses, we start to see bitter tensions rise to the surface. It was really great to chat to Austen. I met him in Berlin at the British Shorts Film Festival, where we both had films playing. His film, Dogbone, completely blew my mind and left me feeling inspired by what young filmmakers can do today. Dogbone considers the abusive relationship that a football coach has with his students. It's a daring film that justifies going to dark places by revealing a powerful sense of catharsis. I think it takes filmmakers of a real caliber to make work that can do that. He is certainly an exciting new voice, and I was intrigued to learn more when I heard that his follow-up film was a thriller shot on 16mm. In this conversation, you'll learn about how Austen found his filmmaking voice, built his own community of collaborators, and leveraged his way into directing professionally. This is a channel where I'll continue to make analytical videos about the films and TV shows you love, but I'm also excited to use this space to spotlight rising talent. I hope conversations like this will inform you and make you feel energized to make your own films. Before we jump into this video, a couple things to note. Please remember to subscribe and leave a like on the video, as it really helps the channel out. There are time codes in the description to guide you throughout, as well as a link to watch Austen's film, Rabbit's Foot. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy the conversation. Okay. Hi.
Hey.
So for people who don't know, what is Rabbit's Foot about and what is the inspiration behind it?
So Rabbit's Foot is about two brothers and a girlfriend that venture out into the countryside in their getaway vehicle after a robbery, and their emotions get the better of them, and the trajectory of their journey just completely transforms or descends, as you could say. So it's a very gritty, dramatic short film, inspired by films like This Is England, and you've got all sorts of kind of, I guess, Top Boy elements in there, but make it a bit more northern. And just a lot of really kind of gritty British 90s-esque kind of inspirations in there.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I mean, so I think like I kind of want to introduce the film to people, but I also want to introduce like who you are as a person and like your filmmaking style. I mean, like, so I met you in Berlin at the British Shorts Festival at a screening of Dogbone, and then kind of just sort of went round the back catalogue on Vimeo really, and just all the other films. And you do kind of have like quite a distinctive voice. Like you've got like the energy of youth in your films, but I also feel like your films have a real bite to them. Like you manage to like tackle like dark subject matter in quite an exciting way. How did you like find your voice as a filmmaker and like your interests?
Well, I guess it kind of molded over time. I remember starting off in film in college and stuff. I'd start off in music videos and, exciting things like that, where my identity really didn't come through as clear in those projects, but started to mold. And I remember this first short film that I did in college called Real Men Don't Cry, and that was focused on men's mental health, young boys. And I guess from there on, it kind of, with that subject, I was really able to put some personal elements into these films. And, had uni, did some kind of folk horror film, which was very fun. But eventually at the end of uni, came back to that sort of subject matter. And with Dogbone, I was able to, I'd grown as a filmmaker by then and as a writer, and I was able to, really push the limits on making it as much personal to me and just making it a really good and powerful film for the audience to really connect to, and I'm very proud on that journey I've been on. And Dogbone is a piece I'm very confident in saying it's really shaped me as a filmmaker, and it's really got my identity and kind of themes of a filmmaker, the styles I go for. I'm sure it's really kind of come through really powerful.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about like Dogbone in a minute because there's like a lot to discuss there. But with Rabbit's Foot, is that the first time you're working on 16 mil? Have you worked on film before?
This is like my third time.
Really?
First time, see, the university had like a course for cinematography, so they gave us a chance really to shoot on 16 mil for a little bit. So that was a really fun experience. But recently I did a music video on 16 mil that should be releasing some point this summer. So very excited for that. But yeah, I mean, for a narrative short film, this was the first time on 16 mil. So it was definitely a very tense, limited experience. But the reward is beautiful. So
Yeah. I mean, I said this to you privately, but I think like Rabbit's Foot really justifies the format of 16 mil. Like it's a very sort of intense film, but it's like lifted by the 16 mil look.
mm,
It's quite a visually striking film, I'd say. I also want, so I wanted to ask, so you seem to me to be like a filmmaker who is quite the impression I'm getting is like you do a lot of like takes and you're getting a lot of coverage, which is why I was quite intrigued by the idea of you doing a 60 mil short film. So like, how did you like adapt to that and you're like, while still preserving your directing approach?
well, that's interesting because with shooting on the 16 takes, like saying we were limited, we had 4 cans of 400-foot film,
You only have
and
four. You had four cans of 400
four,
feet.
four, four
That's
cans. So
about
that was,
40 minutes of,
yeah, pretty much
yeah,
40 minutes, which is crazy.
yeah,
But I mean, with takes, number of takes, I don't like to do a lot of number of takes for coverage. Really, I really prefer to keep it minimal. I feel like less is more because I feel like these earlier takes have more of a naturalistic kind of performance, and when you might see the actors at their rawest rather than kind of almost becoming like automated by doing loads of takes. But I mean, it worked well for this 16 mil because I had confidence in the actors, they had confidence in their peers and all the crew and everyone involved. And it was kind of it's always a gamble when shooting on 16 because you can't really like edit or like delete that clip and make space for more room. Um, but yeah, it's limited experience. It really gets the actors in gear. It gets me in like gear, and it's very very scary experience. But
yeah,
it's, the end is rewarding, and when you get those scans back through and like you've realized like, oh wow, like we've actually smashed it. It's there's no other feeling like it, especially when it's
yeah,
colored as well. So it's
yeah.
really
I'd
beautiful
also
format.
say that I think like what you're doing in Rabbit's Foot is not like a simple film to do on 60 mil. Like you're shooting inside cars and stuff like that. Like, did
Yeah.
you rig the camera inside the car to?
No, we
That's
had
crazy.
so Paul our DP, we wanted to shoot on 16 mainly because I mean I felt like the format fit the story, like the adolescence themes of the story and stuff. But the 60 mil camera that Paul had, like I felt like it was kind of small enough to fit in the car and stuff. So he was sat in the back seat handheld, and I guess it kind of helped elevate the kind of rough run and gun kind of feel on the move, and hopefully bring up that adrenaline kind of energy in the film. But yeah, it's handheld. Paul was just in the back seat, just getting
Yeah.
all the shots and that.
I'm quite impressed by that because like one of my very first student short films I shot in the back of a car on a digital like on a DSLR. And maybe because
Yeah,
DSLR is smaller, but like we found it so hard to get like footage you could actually see because we were just like shaking around. I mean, we're having like hard stops in it. Um, but like I'm quite impressed by the fact that you kind of it's like a high tightrope walk with what you're trying to do, I feel.
yeah.
Um, So, uh, so tell me about like how did Rabbit's Foot, like the story for Rabbit's Foot, come about for you?
So it started off with Ayn, who's a co-writer and also stars in it. He wanted to work on a project with me. Well, obviously we've been friends for years, so we wanted to work with each other properly at some point. And there were a few months free at the end of last year in 2025. And I had it in the back of my head, like there's this project that we'll do at some point. And there was this other actor, Samson, who was an extra in Dogbone, and he was just really keen to act. And he sent us some self tapes of him doing Hamlet and all sorts of this stuff. And A had faith in him, and I had I could see the potential in him. And that then evolved into A thinking of, oh, it'd be cool to do like a story about brothers or something like that. And I was like, yeah, that's great. I'm so game for that. And I then wanted a bit of element of just a female character in that story to kind of balance things out. And Margie, who wanted to work with me, and I wanted to work with her. I met her. It's weird how kind of full circle these things come about, because I met her when I was doing like an AC on a short film ages ago, and now I'm directing, and she wants to be involved, which is just, it's crazy. She's brilliant talent. So got her involved, and then I think Paul he came about with the short film, these short ends for 35mm. So initially the plan was to shoot this on 35mm, which was very ambitious. And I felt like, as time went on and these short ends were like, this is going to be very tricky to make a short film on strips of film that kind of last a minute long, especially trying to capture long takes and stuff. But luckily the companies that were involved, they were just very keen to chip in and make this a reality on shooting on 16mm, which very much fit the story a lot more. So things just kind of started off from a small project with A wanting to film something, and then over time it just grew and grew and grew and evolved into this really energetic short film that we're trying to push as far as we can.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
interesting because like when I met you in Berlin, I remember you talked about Rabbit's Foot like it was about to happen. Like you were very confident that it was going to happen. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. We'd already shot it
oh,
in
right.
November. So Berlin, I was probably like keeping it like low key, because it was probably in like the post-production stage
Yeah. You
around that.
mentioned 16mm. I didn't realize it was already shot. So I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, you probably asked like, oh, what's your next project? And then I just like, explained what it was. Oh, it's this, just thinking of 16mm and that, and it had already been shot.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, no, it was a brilliant experience. It feels like a long time since we shot it. So
Yeah.
it's good to finally be getting it out soon.
I'm curious also to ask about like you've mentioned like the weird way like things just come about for you.
Mm.
Because one of the big questions wanted to ask you about is like finding your tribe, because it does feel like Summat Cinema. Can you explain to people what that is?
Yeah. So that's it grew from a kind of umbrella name for our films to a production company run by myself and Robert Petty, and he's a producer on Rabbit's Foot. And he also produced Dogbone, and there's these films, really powerful films that we wanted to kind of umbrella them under the same name. And Summit is like the Yorkshire people, it's the way they say something. It's like, oh, something like that. They'll they just can't bother saying the full thing. So we've chose that name, and I guess we've kind of created a sort of message along with that name and the kind of films we make, and identity as well. So yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's really cool. I think what you guys are doing is like really exciting. I mean, again, like when I met you guys, you were all there together as like a group of lads, like who are also like a motley crew, just like had
Yeah.
made this short film. And So the impression I got is like, so you guys are all like friends from Salford Uni, is that correct? So Salford
Yeah,
University.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, we all met at Salford Uni and like since first year kind of stuck with each other. Um, and like, we all of the friends just got involved for Dogbone and things just as a talking about that full circle, it's things just align in the perfect way. And yeah, the rest
It's
is
quite
history.
it's quite funny really because it's like this is going to be like low key a little bit of an advert for the Salford Salford University because I just like I didn't even know it existed until I met you and
Yeah,
like and it's also just like people have this presumption that to kind of work in film in the UK you have to be in London and you guys are sort of like spearheading the idea of a film community in like Manchester and Leeds and Yorkshire.
yeah.
So that's pretty sick. Can you tell me about also so the production companies that kind of helped you get involved with this? So I know the Gate Films, you're signed with them. So did you just sort of
Yeah,
say you just literally just ask them, can you support my narrative short
yeah,
film?
yeah. Honestly, yeah. It was it got that time of the year where, creatives and people involved, like they have a lot of time to give. And, it would be stupid not to put their tools and help create something new that can, help bring exposure for everyone involved. So it's very lucky timing for me, I guess, because coming out of uni had like crowdfunding and all that lot for the short films and that, and now it's just like having the right people involved that's able to come about a lot more. Well, it came back very quick because I presented the short film a week before we were planned on shooting because the actors had a specific like set of days that they could shoot on. But it's everyone involved has been an absolute massive help, and all these companies have just been willing to collaborate. And honestly, it's been such a brilliant experience getting to know everyone and collaborate and work. So yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Like how involved were they as well? Were they like did they come on board as like producers and try and give you notes and things like that, or was it very hands off?
It was they gave me a lot of creative control. Like I didn't really feel any pressure from them. It just felt they were more like championing a young filmmaker like myself and really pushing my work to the best that it can possibly be. And um kind of I guess give a good image to these companies involved. Um, like it's really empowering with a young filmmaker making something, and these big dog companies involved, and it really makes them, and I mean makes me like look, I guess, good. It's just so really empowering and encouraging um, kind of support that I've been given, and it's very exciting for, I guess, fellow other young filmmakers in the world. Like honestly, reaching out and collaborating with these companies is like could be one of the best things ever that you do. You just kind of got to reach out and don't be afraid of rejection.
Yeah, I think it's really cool to hear you say that. I think it's like twofold. I think you definitely are brave enough to do the cold email and
Yeah,
do the like, I mean that
yeah,
was pretty clear. Like that's how you got involved with the Gate Films, is what you told
yeah,
me. And that's how you got signed. But I also think it's my guess is also it's also the momentum of Dogbone because Dogbone was such a great calling card for you. It's a 20 minute it's a 20-minute short film, and it's pretty impeccable in the way it's produced. And it's now gone on to like win a lot of awards and stuff. Like, congratulations! I haven't seen you
thank
since the
you.
Royal Television Awards.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, that's pretty crazy. Um, so, I mean, to some degree, I'm not super surprised that you kind of were able to sort of kind of rustle that together, really. So,
Yeah.
I take it, is it Antfarm? Is that the other company that's involved?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's Antfarm. So Finn Mulligan Wild, who co-produced this with Rob, like I've known him for a few years now, and he's like helped out on like an advert that I've been directing and he's just become a dear friend, honestly. And his company was, it's just, I guess, great timing. Willing to be involved in this project and chip in on their end and stuff. So yeah, it's been great.
Okay, cool. So I want to ask more about like how you've like developed your approach to directing, really. And again, this relates back to the idea of like you've only got 4 rolls of film to shoot Rabbit's Foot. So are you a person who does like storyboards and shot lists, or like
Yeah,
okay,
I
like
hand
how
draw.
rigorous are you on that stuff?
Yeah, so I remember, I mean, every project I hand draw all my storyboards. Like only recently, like storyboard artists have reached out to me, but I've been very like hesitant to explore that kind of pre-production area. But I used to do art in GCSEs, and I mean, I've been drawing for a while, so I feel like I've got the clear skills to show how a shot I want to look or something like that. So I've been hand drawing all of my storyboards since, I guess, whenever I started, and especially when working with the limits of these 4 cans of film. I remember just timing each shot on the storyboard that's ordered in on like the shot list or something like that, timing it all. And I think it came around to exactly ish close to 7 minutes, which is very close to where, well, it's pretty much the runtime of the actual film, which is quite funny because I've only just kind of realized that now. But yeah, honestly, just timing each shot, like, oh, that feels like 15 seconds, or that feels like 5 seconds. And yeah, that's kind of how I worked out the timings and stuff. And then I presented them to the DP, Paul, like with the shot list and everything. And he said like it looked great. Like, 2 days of shooting. The only really scary thing we had to face on the 2 days of shooting was the weather or the daylight. So it was in winter time. So the sun goes down pretty quick. So the sun was going down around like 3 p.m., which was crazy. So we didn't have much time, but we got everything that we needed done. So
Yeah. What was the film stock that you used?
500T.
500T. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's it's a very gritty kind of stock. Usually use it for dark kind of scenes, but I feel like the colors with 500T and the way it's kind of presents itself, it's a very kind of it's kind of like a bit of an angry format-ish a bit, but it worked really well with this film. It just elevated the stakes up a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
it does
Gave
have like a really interesting texture to it. And like as I said, like it completely like adds to the tone and the atmosphere of it. It's quite hard to imagine Rabbit's Foot without it, if I'm being honest. Um, yeah, I mean, it's also just like weird to think like you have one exposure for like the whole film, but you know, as I said, you're shooting inside a car, you're going outside, and you're losing light.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and like, do you have one lens throughout the whole film as well?
We had like, I guess you could say 2 sets. We had a Canon 11 to 165, which was a zoom lens. So we used that for majority of the outside shooting, especially the beginning and ending. But I guess what I wanted to achieve with this film, and Paul was game for this as well, was just giving it that kind of 90s docu film, like documentary sort of style. I guess elevating these performances, making it feel like you're watching these people in real time, and that's kind of what I wanted to create, and hopefully like blur the lines between the screen and the audience, and like, oh, this just kind of feels a bit real and raw and stuff and happening for the first time. And then the other set of lenses is their Paul's Zeiss Super Speeds Mark II. So they were for the car scenes and stuff, and they worked really clean. So you can't go wrong with a bit of Zeiss.
Where
So
did you
yeah.
where did you find this DP, Paul?
Paul, first time we met, I mean, all these contacts, I'm pretty sure a lot of people in the industry relate, like, comes from Instagram and DMs and stuff like that. So much contacts come from that. But we met each other at I remember just a sunny day at this market in Salford, just for a little meeting after I graduated uni, and he just wanted to know what I was working on next, and I just really wanted to meet him as well because he's been involved in all these kind of crazy projects with these crazy directors and stuff, and yeah, it's just been an absolute pleasure to get to know a DP who's been been around for doing all these projects for quite a fair bit, and someone who's really kind of mastering their craft. So it's been a pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure working with him, and that's how we met. And we stayed in touch. We wanted to do something. He had these films, film roles kind of available, and that kind of sparked my interest of I want to shoot this project.
Really? He provided the film? He provided the 4 cans?
Well, this was before he has the cameras, but this was before we switched it to 16 mil, and
Right.
it was when he had the short ends of 35,
I see.
but they weren't long enough, and it was going to be risky. So we ended up buying a bunch of 16 mil, and it worked hand in hand with his. He has an Arten Xterra, so
Oh, yeah.
it's a very kind of, I think it's French, but it's a very, kind of gives a vintage 16 mil feel, and yeah, it was very cool to work with.
Yeah. Do you note a difference? This is a really nerdy chat, but do you note a difference in the actual cameras? Because I often wonder about this. I really love the look of the Krasnov. It's the Soviet 60 mil camera. It's called the Krasnogorsk.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I know
my
what you're on about. Begins with
my
Xperia.
DP has the same camera that you're talking about, and he's making videos that just genuinely look like music videos from the 90s, have that
Mm,
90s look. And I've often wondered if the camera makes any difference to
yeah,
um
I think
th-
have you heard of Bolex cameras?
yeah, yeah, of
16
course.
mils, yeah, they're people shoot on them, and I guess if you were to put them side by side next to an Arri 416 or something like that, the Bolex is obviously a smaller camera, and you have shorter 60 mil stock inside it, but I'm pretty sure it's just kind of the build quality between the two. So with the Bolex, it feels a lot more, I guess, kind of run and gun, a bit more rough. But with the 416, it's a lot more, I guess, stable. I'm not sure if this is all correct, but this is kind of what I feel like is correct. And the difference between the Arri and the Arten, which Paul told me about, was the Arri's got a hook processing preceding the film when you're shooting, but Arten's got a magnetized version of that where it just goes through. I don't know what it looks like, but I just thought it was pretty cool.
Interesting.
There's a little difference between the two, but yeah, it's been very cool.
Yeah, it's quite funny. I'm a director, and I said, my DP's often made fun of me for not knowing stuff, or not knowing what to, he's I remember I did a shoot once where he handed me something and I was like, what do I do with this? And it's quite interesting to kind of hear you, you have such a technical knowledge about all this stuff. And I remember you said to me in Berlin, you're very much a cinematography director, I think is what the thing you really like. Is that coming out of Salford? Is that what they taught you there, or?
No, that's I was a self-taught filmmaker from the start. So I myself, I know a lot of directors that a fair bit. I mean, I don't know. I know a fair few that haven't really been into cameras that much. I'll be mostly focusing on writing a lot and the directing side of stuff, and not getting too technical and leaving that to the camera department. But I've been very hands on with, I guess we're making these music videos at an early stage. I've had to have my own gear and stuff. So I remember my first camera was a Canon 2000D. Did started photography on that, then tried videos with that, made a few stuff in lockdown, and then eventually kind of worked enough to earn and buy myself a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera 6K. So that allowed a lot more of a cinematic look for these music videos and stuff like that. And I mean, soon after that, I switched to a Sony FX30 just because of the batteries and they're a
Wow.
lot
Yeah.
better. It was a bit smaller, but I've been, yeah, very hands on. I mean, still there's some jobs where, I'm the cinematographer as well, and really filming this stuff. And I guess it's that kind of thing there where it's, as a filmmaker, cameras are kind of personal to me. Like, I guess as a filmmaker, it's just proper run and gun and feels like, very like one with the camera.
Yeah, I
So
think I was actually going to ask you about what cameras it because I've looked at again. I went through the back catalog on Vimeo, and it just all looks really stunning. Like the way some of the things were made, it did kind of feel like like you did one which was like you and your friends just going on a hike.
mm,
And I was like, that just it looks like the most cinematic vlog. Like, and also
yeah,
like there's one that's like an experimental film where it's literally you, but like you're in like an abandoned like place,
yeah.
and it's like so well produced that I just had like questions like how well did you make that
Yeah.
by yourself entirely by
Uh,
yourself?
well, mostly I only had my mate Harrison who kind of helped, focus up on the camera and stuff. But that was that funny enough, that was on a third year floor in our uni. That was abandoned.
You're
Uh,
right. Okay.
there was like rumors going along the across the classroom, just like, there's an abandoned floor in the like very
Yeah,
creepy area. And I'm like, that me and my mates wanted to check it out, and like it is very, very eerie up there. But I was like, what, I wanna film something up there, and create a experimental sound design, like everything, all the
yeah,
editing, sound design, the shots, the grades, that's all done by me. And I guess
that's crazy.
it's
That's
kind of
great. I was going to
proof that.
ask you who did the sound design to that because it's very
Yeah.
Jonathan Glazer. It's very
No,
yeah,
I've been doing this stuff for years, so it's kind of, yeah, it's great to hear that kind of feedback from, it's kind of normal to me. And I really love doing sound design, really kind of layering these audios and transforming emotions throughout the
yeah.
timeline and stuff. So
I
yeah,
said this to you over text, but I think the thing that's really underrated in your films is the sound design and the music that you do. Like, are you
yeah.
like so because I didn't realize you were that good, like independent. I thought you just had a good sound designer. So
Well, yeah, we Dogbone, Frank Kelly. So he's our sound designer on that, and he's just terrific. Honestly, you could put that guy in any department and he'll smash it. So he's got a very creative brain on him.
interesting. So the abandoned warehouse thing, like, was that on the FX30 or is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because I was like,
yeah.
it's way too good. It's way,
Yeah,
yeah, okay, that makes sense.
X30 with my like Sigma 18 to 35 mil lens and Helios
Yeah, classic.
442
Like,
lens.
everyone has that lens, the Helios. Like,
Well, no, Soviet lenses, man, they're
yeah,
crazy. They're crazy
yeah,
good.
yeah. That's really interesting to hear. Um, so yeah, I think it's quite useful for me to like know this because like I'm also trying to like hustle like music videos together, and I just think I need to be like a self shooter more because it's just like I don't know how you find because you've produced a lot of music videos. Like I've with some often with the same artist, like you'll do like five in a row. Um, I assume the turnarounds are just crazy tight on those as well. Like how does that come about for you these days? Are you like reaching out to artists and just sort of saying yes, whatever they're because do you work for artists who have no budget as well? I'm kind of curious.
It's really hard to, I mean, being quite busy, it's hard to, work with artists with no budget. I mean, I've done that before in earlier stages, and stuff like that. But honestly, I guess it depends on the song, really, how I pick my projects and artists that I work with. Like they send me the song, and like honestly, if I really feel some way towards it, and I have these visions in my head of, I guess, how to pair them, like visuals with this audio, then it works out. But if you got no budget, like you got to get really creative, and it's good that I have my own gear and we can go out shooting something. Um, but yeah, yeah, honestly, it's just kind of how I feel with the music. If you didn't feel anything towards the music and it was kind of a cash grab, then it would be a bit hollow. It would be a bit
Yeah.
messy. So prefer to just pick out the songs that I really feel a way towards and go from there.
So these days, is it coming? Do music videos come about through the Gate Films for you, or is it like people
It's
reach out and you consider them one by one?
just from I guess Instagram or mutual friends, but Kenzo J was the first artist that I've ever worked with for I guess any kind of commercial music video area, and it went on from there honestly. And like without him, like I wouldn't be doing music videos nowadays. Like I guess it takes a lot of confidence in an artist to when a filmmaker reaches out, say, hey, I've got an idea for your song, this song, and then they're like, all right, yeah, let's hear it. And then, oh, it's good. Okay, yeah, let's shoot it. And yeah, it just kind of bounces from that first artist. It just expands, and the network expands, and the this artist knows this artist. Kind of goes from there, really. And yeah, that's
Do you feel like music videos have like really helped your development as a filmmaker? Because like for me, it like completely changed how I direct and the
yeah.
spontaneity I bring.
A lot of filmmakers have said like music videos are your, I guess, kind of playground, an area to fail, try things new, and get experimental with it. And there'll be a technique that you practice in these music videos that could be really effective in narrative storytelling. So it's yeah, everything works in hand. So I believe that these music videos of without doing them, I'm sure the films nowadays, like the ideas and stuff, wouldn't be have kind of surfaced up. So yeah.
Interesting. We should talk about Dogbone.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd be
so,
happy to.
so incredible film. Is there an online release plan for that, or you got more festivals to go through?
Yeah, we got more film festivals. So I don't want to set it like no
Oh,
specific date. I mean, I'm kind of thinking maybe later on this year, hopefully. I mean, a lot of people have been, wanting to watch it. But our plan is, to push it as out there as possible and give it the biggest send off as big as we can. So yeah, it's
interesting.
yeah.
But, I really encourage people to check it out because it's funny in Berlin. I remember you got up on the like beforehand before the screening, and you just gave it a warning. Like you said, it's quite a hard watch. And then Julia was like, "Yeah, it is a hard watch, but it's really good. Like it's really good." And I remember the lady who was sat next to me towards the end of the film. She started like flinching, like violently, like flinching in her chair.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was fantastic. I just thought it was like so, and like the catharsis of it is so. I've just, it's so rare to see filmmakers who are just daring to kind of like go to like kind of dangerous places. I mean, coming up with that film, what was there any like trepidation, or there must have been trepidation about like how where's the line in the sand of like how far is too far, or like pushing the tone to the point where, because I guess the worst thing that could happen is you actually traumatize an audience and everyone walks away offended. Like, so how
Yeah.
did you find the balance there?
Um, well, I remember the script. The first script for this film was, probably too far. But from there on, I was able to kind of limit it and, mostly focus on, I guess, the aftermath and the area around and the silence around these traumatic events. Like there was no way I felt like, kind of being honest. I didn't really want to. It would feel wrong to show these traumatic events. It
Of course.
feels a lot more impressive, really, to really do a good job on the area around these events and kind of tell show not tell about I guess kind of getting the audience thinking like, oh, what are these events that have happened throughout the film and stuff like that. And I feel like that's a lot more impressive and feels a lot more kind of spacious. And it's I didn't want to make this film very, very like um well, I guess traumatic. Didn't want to make it traumatic at all. Just wanted people to just wanted to shine a light on, these kind of events that have happened before in football clubs, back in the day, especially, and create a story on young men's mental health, and it really is, it still affects like these guys that they're middle aged now with families, and it's crazy how like events like this as young boys like really still affects them nowadays, and it's like a very upsetting thing. So I wanted to do this film justice, and I wanted to do a really good job with it. And I guess you got to know your limits, but you can do just as a good job, whereas like less is more, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that. So the idea of like setting out to make a 20-minute, this was your graduation film, right? Is
It
that
was,
right?
yeah.
So it's a 20-minute graduation film. You almost certainly do not have the budget to necessarily do it. You're relying a lot on like, as student filmmakers do, like favors and friends to kind of jump in and be extras or whatever. Was there
Yeah.
any pushback to the idea of the scope of the ambition when from like, I don't know, college tutors and things like that?
Well, the limit for these short film assignments was like 15 minutes. So we had to cut a terrible um version of the film and
Oh
submit that.
no, that's
We
terrible.
still we still got a good mark. I wasn't honestly bothered about these marks though. I was just more focused on the bigger picture with this film. Um, but yeah, with film festivals as well, like we've put it through a fair lot, and we've got rejections from quite a fair bit because this film is 20 minutes. It's long for a short film. This is like almost like a Netflix episode or something. It's a really short. But it's been really good experience, getting this out there, and it's a 20-minute film, and people can really sink into this story, and it's been very rewarding hearing people's opinions and reviews on this film. And yeah, just that 15-minute version wouldn't have worked at uni. Just needed more space and more time, I guess, for the audience to really bite their teeth into it.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, I think also there's something to really say that it's really hard, especially as a student filmmaker, but it's really hard to make a 20-minute short film and have it like hold water, have it be like it doesn't drop the ball at any point. Like that's really impressive, and it's ironic in a way, like the idea that we often hear festivals don't like films longer than 10 minutes because they can't put that in, and because when they can put two other short films in that place, they don't want
Yeah.
to do that. But ironically, like what you've done is more of a showcase for like a working director who wants, could go into like TV and film. But I'm quite pleased. Like I know you premiered at Bolton, which is I think has become quite known for 20-minute shorts now. I have another friend who played there as well with a 20-minute short. It's like working in like TV, something you want to do?
Not really. It's Christopher Nolan's been a very inspiring figure for me, like since the start of filming. And there's just something about films that's really magical to me. And the concept of a TV episode is I'll watch them. I have my favorite series, like True Detective and all that lot. But I feel like making a TV episode is different territory. Like I love and adore the format and length of a feature film, and like it's a dream to make a feature film at some point in the future, hopefully very soon. But shorts are it's really nice to make shorts like their own kind of feature films, but in a certain time length and a little story. But yeah, I don't know about concepts with like TV episodes. I've never really kind of thought about it, but I guess never know. But feature films
Interesting.
is
I
mad.
I thought it would make sense just because of like you've done commercials and music videos. So I thought, oh, maybe he might be interested in doing that.
Yeah.
But like in terms of like features, do you have a sense of what you might do in the feature space?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm currently writing like a feature film. I'm on like the nearing end of these drafts where I'm just refining every page, and hopefully kind of get it to a presentable level to show people. But it's a very dark story. Obviously set in Northern England, and I don't want to say what it's about yet.
Yeah.
But it's I can text you it later,
Yeah.
or when I
Okay.
finish when I finish the script, actually I'll send it over to you.
Oh yeah, sure. If you want some notes or anything, I'll give you some
Yeah,
thoughts. Yeah.
yeah. But it's a crazy story, and like all I'll say is like it's got a similar theme of brotherhood
Yeah.
in this feature film. So that's why working on Rabbit's Foot like with everyone is kind of been like I guess sort of a way to kind of explore that theme and get this like really rough feel and hopefully prepare for this feature. But it's yeah, I'm very excited for this kind of next chapter. It's very exciting because I feel like with Dogbone, I've kind of really proved myself that I can deliver these emotions, and me and the team, cast and crew, we're all really really proud of this work, and yeah, we. I feel like we do really deserve these awards and recognition for this film.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I do too, pal. So
thank
you mentioned Chris Nolan. I can actually see the connection because like the early Nolan films were very like noirs and they were very kind of like a lot more brutal and like I watched Following for the first time like last year I think and it surprised me like how violent it was and like how like um but also just how good it was because I was expecting it to be like really rubbish because it's basically three mates over a course of a year on weekends shooting that film. Who are your like other filmmaker inspirations?
Terrence Malick for sure, man. Terrence Malick is the Tree of Life. It's on my top four on
Yeah,
Letterboxd, but it is a life
fantastic.
changing film. I would do anything to watch that in cinemas for the first time, probably. But Terrence Malick for sure. And I'm just trying to think of my other top fours, but there is damn, you put me on the spot here.
It's
But
okay. No
Terrence,
worries.
Terrence, Terrence Malick, he's he's not just a filmmaker though. He's like a philosopher, and he's the messages and the as Christopher Nolan says, like you got to feel a film,
Yeah,
and with Terrence, like you can for sure feel them. It's just
yeah.
spiritual.
We're always referencing Terry Malick on our short films. Tree of Life is always coming up. And like my last short film, like I'm always really interested to hear about directors and how they approach like intention versus discovery. And I find it really fascinating to hear that you're like super like storyboard like driven. Because I had a funny feeling you would be like on set just sort of like rewriting with the camera, which is what I'm like. Like I used to be very like storyboard driven, and I just found I was becoming really miserable, like trying to check off a list of shots to get.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm quite impressed by your ability to like Are you literally like how can you like see ahead of time? Is it just a muscle you train, or like, um,
I'm I'm a very visual person, and I have a very like strong kind of how I envision myself in the future and how I envision this project kind of going or looking. So I guess that kind of just really assists the pre-production stage. Really kind of, it's funny how, I mean, for example, when I'm timing up these shots and it totals up to 7 minutes, and the film actually ends up being 7 minutes in the final cut and stuff. Um, but yeah, it's as I said, like these things kind of align, and it's yeah, it's pretty creepy stuff. Yeah.
It's the sixth sense, the director's sixth sense.
Mm.
How do you think future filmmakers are going to be discovered nowadays? Or like, you're a young guy, you're younger than me,
Yeah.
so like you're probably more tapped into this than me. So yeah, how do you feel like the next generation of filmmakers are going to be discovered?
Yeah. It's very scary with like how the you know, social media, all of that lot. Like, I just hope that this next generation really know the danger of, having your phone on you, like, for a long time. And I feel like that, like, if a filmmaker is really, you know, tapped in on their phone, and I feel like that may change how they are as a filmmaker. Like, they may be kind of venturing into AI territory or making stuff like that. I have my opinions on AI and stuff like that, but I feel like there's just a special thing. I mean, how I was as a filmmaker, I was started with, like, making iPad movies on iMovie and stuff like that back in the day, and there's a really kind of organic feeling. So with new young filmmakers, like, I kind of just want them to ignore all this social media algorithm stuff like that and really create, like, just kind of yourself in the backyard with a camera, like, what, and maybe a few neighborhood friends, and, like, what can you make? And I feel like, taking risks, I feel like it's really kind of it trains your creative brain to do that. If you put yourself in a space with a camera, and really trains yourself to create something out of thin air, rather than, looking at algorithms. And, it's okay to have inspirations, but just being on there a lot more than you should do. So yeah, it's really unpredictable the way the world's going, but, power of cinema, like, should hopefully overthrow all that negative stuff.
Have you also seen a short film recently that people should check out that's not made by you?
No, wait, sorry, say that again.
So I was just asking, have you seen a short film
Oh,
recently that you'd recommend I check out?
uh, yeah, bro. There's a director called Rory Bradley. He's an Irish filmmaker that me and my mate Solomon met at Bolton. He also helped us give some suggestions for, put some where to put Dogbone in for film festivals, and his opinions and stuff. But he's made a docu film that's done very, very well on, his film festival run. I'm not sure, when it's releasing or anything like that, but, he's worth following on Instagram. His docu film, We Beg to Differ. He sent me a link for it after we met in Bolton. It is by far, like, one of the most captivating and entertaining. It's just like this docu film that's really cinematic, and, from the get go, you're just stuck in this world, and you're, like, loving every bit of this, like, seeing all these types of characters and stuff. And I guess that's kind of inspiration for Rabbit's Foot, going for the docu film style, wanting
Yeah.
to capture, make it feel like you're watching these real people. But yeah, honestly, that's when that film comes out, like, that's so worth checking out.
Have you ever made a documentary before, and is that something you'd be interested in doing?
Um, no, I don't think so. I remember at college, like, there was an assignment to do, like, a little documentary, like a very tiny one. I think I made one with, like, my bandmates, not my bandmates, my friends who were, like, in a band, and I did, like, a little documentary on, like, their journey and stuff, but, nothing too, not a proper documentary.
Yeah.
Um, Interesting for sure. Maybe in the future, but I mean, I guess the story comes first. So that should present itself. But yeah, no, I find documentaries really interesting. They're a very cool format. They're a very human format, because there's no, like, kind of filters between, well, I guess it's how it's edited, but it's a way of learning all different things in this world, and all these really kind of interesting characters and people. And, you learn a lot more after watching it. compared to before. So it's very cool.
I thought it was really great to hear how Austen managed to build his own community of film friends. He is somebody who lives the idea that one film can push you towards the next film. So just make that one film, and don't be afraid to reach out to people. It's understandable to feel jaded and confused by the film industry, but what's exciting is how things can rapidly change when you start to meet the right collaborators. I want to thank Austen for his time and for sharing his journey with me. There's a link to watch Rabbit's Foot in the description, and I'd really encourage people to look out for news about Dogbone. That's a film that's well worth checking out. As mentioned up top, please remember to subscribe and leave a like on the video if you're interested in seeing more big chats like this. It really helps me out. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.